Hello everybody and welcome back to a new video. I am Pat from Pat's Path Predictor and we have the latest on potential Tropical Cyclone One. Let's go ahead and dive right into this. Alright, so this is the satellite imagery right here, and this looks a lot different from what it did in the earlier update. This thing looks a lot worse than it did. It looks like the wind shear is basically tearing it apart right now. And that's partly what's going on, because at first the wind shear was, like, this thing was actually overcoming the wind shear. This was actually handling it quite well. But as time went on, that wind shear grew more persistent. It just started to tear this thing apart. Like, this thing looks so much worse now than it did in the last video I made. Like, it actually looked pretty good. Let's actually pause this and go back to about 120 frames just to show you what's going on. And this is what it looked like before. But as time went on, just the whole thing began Shear began tearing this thing apart, and yeah, this doesn't look good, as good anymore. The good news, and this is where it's going to be at the most shear at. The good news is that after it hits Florida, the shear is going to weaken considerably. So let's go ahead and dive right into this. This is the cone right here. This is what we have right here for the cone. As you can see right here. The tropical storm force winds are currently impacting western Cuba. There are tropical storm warnings from Cuba to the Bahamas, including much of southern Florida, including the cities of Naples, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, etc., like Okeechobee as well. So that's basically the situation we have right here. Let's go ahead and see what the latest advisory has. At 11 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, the disturbance was located at 24.5 degrees north, longitude 83.7 west. The system is moving towards the northeast at 12 miles per hour, and northeastward motion is expected with an increase in forward speed expected during the next couple of days. On the forecast track, the system should move across the southern and central portions of the Florida Peninsula on Saturday, and then move into the southwestern Atlantic north of the northwestern Bahamas late Saturday through Sunday. Maximum sustained winds are still at 40 miles per hour with higher gusts. There is no change in status or strength expected before moving across Florida, but it is expected to develop a well-defined center and strengthen slightly this weekend and early next week into the western Atlantic. It still has a 90% chance of developing in the next 2 days and 5 days as well. The tropical storm force winds now extend 175 miles from the center. It was 70 earlier, now it's 175. The maximum central pressure is at 1,003 millibars. So that's basically the situation. We actually can pull up the storm surge graph as well. We can actually go to the graphics. This is the peak surge we have. It's only going to be around 1 to 2 feet of storm surge. They actually color-coded it for this year, so this is the first time that Pat's Path Predictor is using this. So this is actually a pretty cool graphic right here. I will be honest with you, but we're not here to talk about how cool the graphic is. We're here to talk to you about the threat, this tropical threat. This thing is going to become Tropical Storm Alex, but it's not going to happen by the time it hits Florida. It's going to become Tropical Storm Alex after it leaves Florida and after it enters more of the Atlantic Ocean where that lesser shear is. If we pull that up, like after it exits Florida, after it exits Florida right here, it's still going to be through that pretty powerful shear in some places, but at the same time, as time goes on, it's going to exit that shear, and it's going to give it a little more breathing room for this thing to develop. So at this point, I would give it lesser of a chance of it actually becoming a tropical storm, and more of a chance of staying potential Tropical Cyclone One. But also I want to say that there's a good chance of either situation happening. And if we look at the satellite imagery, it does look like that the storm is tearing itself apart. Depending on how it executes itself, making landfall over Florida, it'll depend on if this thing just completely obliterates or if this thing stays together. If it stays together, then it's likely going to reform into a tropical storm. We have the global sea temperatures right here. Once again, they're at 27 degrees. So plenty of warm water for this thing to continue. It's just the shear that is limiting it. And as time goes on, this shear is going to weaken because we're not going to see shear like this for the whole hurricane season. The thing that's most limiting any tropical development right now is the wind shear, not the warm waters, because the waters are warm enough for this. And during the month of June, it's the more of the wind shear because it needs to calm down. It needs to take a month or so to calm down, and then after that, the water needs to get warmer for major hurricanes to develop. So That's why you don't see the peak of hurricane season until late August and until early October. It's not because the water's too cold. It's because the shear is too strong. So, yeah, the way I see this is that this thing has handled itself in the past in the shear really well, but now it's coming apart. And if this thing stays together over Florida, then this thing's going to end up becoming a tropical storm. It just needs to find a way to overcome this shear, and after that, it can just really get going. The intensity of this right here, this is the latest intensity runs right here. There's a model that has this going all the way up to hurricane strength, but I think considering the amount of wind shear that's going on, I think that's unlikely. It's likely going to stay around the 40 mile per hour. I think at the peak it's going to get to 45. 50 is the absolute cap if the conditions get better. But I think the strongest it'll be is 45 miles per hour at the strongest, and even then, the chance of that happening is less and less as that shear is moving into parts of the Atlantic. But I will be keeping I will keep updating you guys as that situation progresses. So stay tuned for more. I hope you enjoyed the video. Be sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you are new. It helps me out, it helps me make more videos like these. The goal of this channel is to get more people engaged with weather and inform them about threats like this. I will be covering extensively all hurricane season. I have a video today talking about what categories are and what category hurricane each means. So please go ahead and watch that. I will leave a link to that in the description below. It'll be much appreciated. And leave a comment down below because I want to know how your guys' day is, and I'll answer any questions you have as well. So with that being said, have a wonderful day. Stay safe.